So hello! On this channel, we talk about independent spirituality and folk magic for free spirits. My name is Aster, and in today's video, we are kind of having a celebration vibe because we have just achieved 3,000 subscribers on the channel. I am very happy to see this community growing, to see people coming every day, and to see you interacting with the videos, sending questions, sending spooky tales for the next episode. I already got some stories in. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna link the spooky tales video up in the cards and also in the description down below for you to take a look. And maybe there's a little spooky story that you know about. Maybe your mother lived something. There's some horror story in your family that somebody knows about, or you lived something. Make sure to send it over because in June we're gonna have Spooky Tales episode 2. Okay, but today, to celebrate the 3,000 subscribers, we are doing a Q&A video! Woo! I'm doing a lot of screaming because I am excited. I am happy. It's been a little over a year that this channel is up and running, and I see that now things are really getting into motion. It is really rewarding. I am very satisfied. I am very happy to have you here. So I hope to be able to answer everything that you guys sent. I made a post on the community tab for you to send questions, and also on Instagram I put a little question box, but I didn't get a lot of questions on Instagram. I also published on Patreon. By the way, take a look at my Patreon page. More on that later on in the video. But I posted on Patreon because Patreons have priority on Q&A videos. And the suggestion that I got from Patreon was so good that I am going to make a video exclusively about that, which is a grimoire walkthrough. I'm not going to talk about my grimoire in this video. I think it deserves its own video, so I'm gonna do it separated. Therefore, we're not gonna have Patreon questions today because I only got one question from Patreon, and it was this suggestion about grimoires. So yeah, with that being said, I am going to get straight into the questions that I have at hand. Let's take a look. Wait a minute. Before we start, let's take a minute to hear a word from today's sponsor, which is myself. Did you know that I have opened a store? Yeah, that's right. Over there you can find all my ebooks that contain some juicy bits of occult knowledge that I share, and you don't want to miss out on that. And also private readings that combine tarot and Lenormand cards, as you already know them, with some extra spice of Afro-Brazilian knowledge. But the best part is that the products on the store start at only $3. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, I'm also on Patreon. And over there, I share extra exclusive content like spell tutorials, behind the scenes of my life, exclusive Patreon videos, unfiltered book reviews, weekly readings, and much, much more for only 1 cup of coffee per month. So if you like what I do on the internet and would like to support my work somehow, check out the links in the description to take a look at everything that I offer. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the video. I got some questions from Instagram, and I am going to start with them. So, what's your view on magic when there are kids in the house? I don't have children, and I don't currently have any children in my home environment, but I think that it is a very good thing to grow up surrounded with spirituality, because it was my case. I grew up with a very spiritual mother, and because of that, I learned many things just by observing her, watching her, listening to her. So for the child, I think it is super good, it is super positive. And also children, they have a stronger connection with the spiritual world. So I don't see any problems in that, much on the contrary. Next question, what are the signs that a deity is trying to reach out to you? It depends on the deity, I would say, but first and foremost, I don't work with deities currently. I do think about building a relationship with the orishas who are in my, like the orishas assigned to me, especially Eshu, which is kind of controversial, and I love a good controversy. But right now, I don't work with any orishas or other deities because I don't have space for another altar. But I would definitely say that depending on the deity, they are going to send different signals to you, and things that are usually associated with them, symbols that are associated with them, animals that are associated with them, you will recognize once you start researching about the deities from the pantheon that you prefer, that you choose. Get as much information as you can about the deities that you think about working with, and then as time goes by, you will be able to identify and understand the signals that they send. You could also have dreams, very specific dreams that will stand out to you, and you will feel kind of puzzled, not knowing how to interpret that, but then at a certain moment it will make sense for you. You could also encounter those deities during your meditation sessions, during path working, that kind of thing, spirit flight. So I can't really point out to you something specific that a deity could send you as a sign that they are reaching out, but when you receive a sign, you will know. Even if you don't understand what that sign means and who sent it, you will know that was a sign. And then as time goes by, it will make sense for you. Yeah, I didn't get many questions from Instagram, so make sure to follow me on Instagram, by the way, because over here we are 3,000, but right now I just have 700 followers on Instagram, so you guys are not very present over there. I'm gonna cry. Follow me on Instagram so you can, so we can keep updated like on a daily basis, because I am on Instagram every day. I don't post a lot. I'm not a professional Instagrammer kind of thing. I really like memes, for example, but if you want to get closer to me, make sure to take a look at my Instagram. So when I have these kinds of things, send a question, etc., you will not miss out on it. Now let's get to the questions that I've received on the YouTube community tab. So Aurora 5785 asked, what is your favorite medium for spirit communication? Do you prefer divination, spirit flight, astral projection, or other forms? I really like divination. I use tarot a lot, and some people argue that you can't really communicate with entities using tarot cards, whatever. The entity will communicate with you through whichever means that you can understand. So if it is tarot cards, the entities will communicate with you using that because they know you will be able to better understand them through the cards. So I really like tarot and Lenormand cards. I use that quite often. And also meditation. I really like path working, and it is great for encountering the entities and listening to them. Also, I am able to get a few words here and there when I am before my altar and talking. I am able to get a few things with my inner ear kind of thing, let's say. So those are my tools for spirit communication: cards, path working, and also hearing a few words here and there. I hope that this is going to get better over time, because it would be great to just be able to sit there and not use the cards anymore, just get the messages coming through, that would be great. What advice, she also asks, what advice advice would you give to somebody who has a deep desire to connect with ancestors and does not know how to start or approach it? My advice for you would be to take a look at my ancestor work video. Many people have complimented that video and have told me it is very useful, etc. So I believe them. I'm gonna link that video up here and also in the description down below for you to take a look. I think that the things that I talk about in that video are actually helpful for someone who wants to start and is kind of lost and doesn't know how to. So I'm gonna refer you to that video. I think it's gonna be very helpful to you. She also asks, what was the hardest thing that you encountered when you started your path? I think fear of the unknown. I think that fear was something that held me back during a long time, especially when it comes to spirit connection, entity veneration, etc. I was very afraid of doing something wrong, calling in lesser spirits, thinking that I was connecting with the right, like with the entities that I had in mind. And I had a lot of prejudice, preconceived notions. When it comes to spirituality, many people will try to tell you how you are supposed to do something, what you should do, what you shouldn't. At the end of the day, you have to fuck around and find out. You have to find your own path, you have to do things and discover what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I mean, some stuff that other people do and works wonders for them will not necessarily be useful to you. Maybe it would, like if you try something that I do, you could upset your entities, your spirits, your guides, because we are different. So each person has to find their own little way of doing things, their own path, and what works for them personally. Because I had heard so many, I've heard in Brazil, it is very common for people to say that you cannot light candles inside, that you cannot venerate a certain entity inside your house, whatever. That's not true. But because I heard so many rumors of those sorts, it held me back for a long time. So I would say that fear and preconceived notions of things I hadn't tested myself held me back a long time and were not positive for my practice. The good thing is that I broke free from those things and started doing stuff my own way. And she also asks if you could talk to your witchy beginner self, what advice would you give to her? Just go for it. When you are starting your path, you will feel certain things. You will feel called to certain things. You will feel like doing this and doing that in a certain way. Just go for it. Don't doubt yourself. Your intuition is one of the strongest channels for your spiritual team to communicate with you and to guide you on how to do stuff. So just trust your gut. You, at the end of the day, you will know what to do, even if you think you don't. So I would tell my beginner self to trust her gut, go with it, and just, fuck around and find out. This is one of the most delightful parts of a spiritual practice, experimenting and finding stuff out. Thank you for your question, Aurora. Now we have Apollo. Apollo is over here quite frequently. Hey Apollo, how you doing? So he says, I think it's a he. Thank you for the compliment on my hair. I did my hair especially for today's video. Do you guys like my hair? I think it looks very nice and it smells very nice too. So he asks, what are your thoughts on crystals? Would love to see your meditation routine also. So my thoughts on crystals, I think they can be very useful tools. I always have a crystal with me. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it in a minute. I also have an amethyst, I have a selenite wand, I have aventurine. I don't have many crystals, I'm not very big on crystals. I have a very small collection because they can, one, be very expensive, especially like the bigger, the more more expensive they are. And two, I think that crystals are a choice. They are not a need. They are a tool that you can use and they can be very helpful, but they are not necessarily a must. You see, like a selenite wand can be used for cleansing, right? And I use my selenite wand to cleanse new decks that I purchase. Whenever I purchase a new deck of cards, I put the selenite wand on top of it with an incense burning right beside it. But I can just smudge the deck. I can knock on the deck. I can use rosemary to cleanse it out with its smoke. So the selenite wand cleanses the energies, but there are other ways of doing that. So do you really need a selenite wand? Not really, but you can have one and it can work for you. So I would say that crystals are a very nice tool to have, but they are optional. That, like, in my opinion, right? Other practitioners will find crystals super necessary, so it depends from person to person. So we have George Agreed 8310. What's up with those numbers that you guys put on your handles? So George asks, that's fantastic, love the channel and catching up on your content on my days off. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. He asks, how do I harvest a leaf from the snake plant or use any of the plants for magic? Specifically, I mean, is there a specific way to do it? Like ask the plant's permission and offer gratitude. Okay, when you are going to harvest from a plant, it is very important to approach the plant, try to build a relationship with it as much as you can. But most importantly, if you don't have the time for building a relationship with the plant beforehand, you can simply ask for its permission and offer something in return. You could just pour a glass of water at the roots of the plant, and there you go. You leave some water and you take a branch, you take some leaves. You can also light a candle for the spirit of the plant. All of those things you can do when you are going to harvest from it. Even if you're not super close to it, you're not friends, you don't have a relationship with the plant, you can simply offer a glass of water or a candle. And, present yourself, say who you are, why you are there, why you want a leaf from them or a branch or whatever, and offer something in return. There you go. Thank you for your question. Wait, I am having a hard time reading the usernames. So Fearbug8439 says, congratulations, you are radiant. Love this photo. Thank you so much. But my photo is not better than yours. It's a little gray cat that I'm seeing here. I have some followers that have pets as the profile picture, and every time I see those people on my stuff, I'm like, oh my god, that is such a gorgeous picture. I love this picture. And I'm almost like messaging the person to say, hey, that's an amazing pet picture. I love your profile picture. So Furrybug, I love your profile picture and thank you for being here. Tamara Hamid, I hope I said it right. She sent she sent 2 questions. Let's take a look at it. She says, hello Aster, I hope you are well. Congratulations on almost reaching 3K, which by now we have already passed. And her questions are, what is the most repeated misconception about witches you have heard? A repeated misconception. Like, it is really tiring and not funny to have people telling me that, like, oh, what is going to be the number for the lottery, or like those kinds of jokes in which people are assuming that I can predict the future and that I can just turn my life from the inside out and completely transform everything overnight and become a success or whatever by lighting a candle. It's not how it works, Magic is always a combination of the magical, the spiritual, and the mundane. So it's like the getting a job spell kind of example. It is not going to be like, it is going to be all for nothing if you make a ritual to get a job, but you don't send in an application, you don't write a CV and send it. So you have to combine both things. You have to be patient. Many times you have to build the things that you want for yourself. Casting a spell will not cut it. And the regular person thinks that we have powers like in the movies, you know, that we can just materialize things and change the color of our hair in the blink of an eye. Those things are really like... And also she asks, from the major arcana cards, what cards appeal to you the most and why? I really like the moon card because it's a card that I can't really fully wrap my head around. There's so many layers of mystery and it's so subjective and mysterious. It is a card that I really like. It really fascinates me. I also like the Hermit because I am kind of a hermit of sorts. I like to be alone. I like to be quiet in my lane, doing my stuff, unbothered. But I also really like the Lover's card, as cliche as it might sound, because the Lover's card is associated with Gemini energy, and I am a Gemini sun, and it's duality, right? It's light and darkness, it's choosing choices, it is good partnerships, because it is kind of contradictory, but at the same time that I am a hermit, I am also very friendly and social, and I get along with people very easily. I am open to people, and I can talk to anybody and get along with them. So it's kind of opposites that live in me. So the Lover's card always makes me feel in the mood for love. Also, when it appears in a reading that I am doing for myself, especially when it is for myself, but also when it is for somebody else, it sends me the message, love is in the air, and life has a little bit more taste when there's love in the picture. Wouldn't you agree? So it gets me this dreamy, you know, cute crush kind of vibe, and I get all bubbly inside. So I would say that my favorite major arcana cards are those. Also the High Priestess, because of that side of mystery and not getting the full picture and layers of secrecy and not knowing everything and being the queen of your castle and knowing better. And I really like not the Empress, the High Priestess as well. Okay, so thank you for your question, Tamara. I hope I said your name right. So we have C du Bleu. Okay, congrats on 3K. Saw your video on protective spell bags, and I'm wondering how you feel about protection jewelry. If you use it, do you have any metals, stones, or symbols that you prefer? Thank you for your question, and yes, I really like protection jewelry. As I have mentioned earlier, I always have this necklace with me, which is a rainbow obsidian stone. It is a protective talisman that I have charged and performed a ritual in. I think you can see a little bit of its shine. It is a very beautiful stone. I use some secret things on this to keep it charged. I really also like oils a lot, so I have a couple of oils for protective purposes, and I like this ring a lot. You can see it in many of my videos. I'm constantly wearing it, but I am in the mood of getting something different for my hands, because this ring, it is not the best quality, if you know what I mean. It is kind of disjointed, and I would like to have something a little bit better made, if that makes sense. The Greek eye, the evil eye kind of thing, it is a symbol that I enjoy a lot. Also peppers are good for protection. We have Roberta Costa, that's a fellow Brazilian for sure. Parabéns, which means congratulations. Thank you you, Roberta. I would like to know regarding ancestor work. By the way, I watched your videos regarding this subject and I loved it. Thank you. I thank you. After you reach out to an ancestor or more than one, is there a safe way to be somewhat sure that you managed to actually reach the one you intended to? Or is it something that you can only have a confirmation communicating and cross-referencing infos? And if it is something we should be mindful of, are there any type of protection tips, spells, etc., to help be guarded from other energies around? So, when it comes to reaching out to spirits, in my experience, you can reach out to spirit A and have spirit B answer you. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe you wanted to reach out to an ancestor who is not available or who is not interested in reaching back to you. And then somebody else comes along because they are interested and they are available. So it's not a bad thing if you want to talk to your grandma and then it's somebody else who answers, and it's somebody else from your ancestry line who answers. That's not a bad thing. And you can have a confirmation of who you're talking to through your dreams and also on meditation sessions. That's what happened to me. If you are in the rain, it's to get wet, right? So we are susceptible of ended up contacting entities that we don't really want to. Lesser spirits, that kind of thing. Watchers, obsessors. I'm not really sure how they're called in English. Obsessores. But it's those low vibration spirits, the leeches, etc. They are out there and they are hungry for energy, and we are sources of the energy they are hungry for. So we can't avoid. It's like getting sick. You can't make sure that you are going to live your life without ever being sick, right? But you can take precautions to keep that from happening as much as possible, right? If you don't want to get a cold, you will kind of protect yourself against it. You see what I mean? And it's the same for those kinds of spirits. So something that you can do when you are reaching out to a certain spirit, to ancestors, whatever, deities, you are probably going to use a candle, right? When you are going to use a candle for those purposes, for spiritual purposes, you gotta cleanse it. I usually use smoke cleanse. It's my favorite type of cleansing technique for candles and other things as well. And then you are going to dedicate the candles to the entity, spirit, what have you, that you want to reach out to. How do I do that? This candle is dedicated to spirit so-and-so. I dedicate this candle to spirit so-and-so. May you and only you come through. You are giving the candle to a specific spirit. So that spirit will come up and take the candle, not another. You see what I mean? You light a candle and you call for the spirit that you have in mind, for the deity, for the entity that you have in mind. So they will answer and make sure that other things do not come and grab the energy that you are sending for them. In my experience, it's been working. I'm not having any problems in that regard. So that's what I advise you do. And with me, when I started ancestor work, I was thinking about known ancestors, but it was actually unknown ancestors that reached back to me. And that was really cool, really rewarding. So it's not a problem if you try to talk to a specific person, but it's somebody else who picks up the phone. It might surprise you in a very positive way, actually. Rivet Baby Doll asks, do you practice stitchcraft and weave a spell into your art? I'd love to see this in practice. I am figuring out what this looks like in embroidery and cross stitch. Love your channel. So thank you so much for your question. Yes, I embroider, and every now and then I have some people asking me about stitchcraft and infusing magic into embroidery, sewing, cross stitch, and whatnot. So my computer was running out of battery. I'm gonna continue with my phone. So when it comes to using sewing for magical purposes, it's all about intention and keeping focused on that intention while you are doing what you're doing. You can light a candle, call out for a certain spirit, a certain entity to accompany you in that process, but it is very much about the intention and the focus that you put into what you're doing. Also, you can put things in there while you are sewing. You can add dirt, you can add tag locks, you can add affirmations, you can add like written spells and incantations. You can add oils, you can add literally anything that your creativity allows you to for the specific intention that you have in mind. And to each stitch, you can say an affirmation. So it is a very long process, but it is something really charged with a lot of energy by the end when you have the final product. So stitchcraft and weaving, and an interesting book that you could read that talks about that is Utterly Wicked by Dorothy Morrison. It's only about like curses and that kind of thing and hexing and baneful magic, but she talks about sewing for magical practices, and you can take what she's talking about in that book and use it for different intentions. So it is totally possible. It's just a very long process, and you need to have a lot of focus to go through with it. Okay, next question. Blue Kitten Power said, proud of you, love your channel. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. Another question from Apollo. So, you said you were vegan, right? I'm curious as to what your breakfast, lunch, and dinner routine is. Does it give you a sense of fullness? Let's say I have fruit for breakfast, right? I'm hungry again in about 30 minutes because it burns off too fast. Would like to hear some insight on your experience. How long have you been vegan and what made you want to change? So, let's talk about veganism, because since I am a creator and I have talked about being vegan in a couple of videos before, I have to bring this subject back because I have really struggled continuing being vegan ever since I arrived in France. I didn't have as much as a hard time while I was in the Netherlands, but here in France, for some reason, I can't really put my finger on it, but I failed at continuing being vegan here. So right now I am vegetarian, which means that I still don't eat meat, but I am consuming eggs and cheese again. So like, for example, hear me out. Before you hate me and cancel me, hear me out. I turned vegan in 2016. That was almost 10 years ago, and I had a completely different life. I was in my hometown, which is a small place. I could go everywhere walking. I had much more time because everything was nearby. I lived with my mother. It was a completely different reality, completely different routine. I had the time to be cooking all the time. I had the energy to be doing that. And right now, at almost age 32, and having to wake up super early in the morning to get the train and go to work and get the train and come back home and be tired. When I arrive back home from work, I am tired. I don't feel like cooking anything. I don't want to do a meal prep for the entire week on my day off. You know, things change over time, and I see that it is very possible and doable and comfortable to be vegan when you have your parents near you and you have a more laid-back lifestyle, a slower lifestyle, you live in the countryside, etc., so on and so forth. So the kind of life that you have, the environment that you have, the support that you have around you will make being vegan easier or harder. So I'm sorry if the lighting is shifting, but it is starting to get dark. I need to wrap this up soon. Right now, I'm not vegan, but I could very well continue to be in the future if my lifestyle changes, if I start working from home. Because like, also at work, I am hungry and I am in my break, 15-minute break. I want to have a snack and there's nothing vegan. So am I going to go hungry, or do I get a croissant which was made with, I don't know, butter and milk and eggs? So it is, for me Personally, it's complicated to be vegan in France. For some reason, I didn't manage to continue, but I am still vegetarian. I'm not gonna focus on like eating what I eat, what I don't eat on a daily basis, because the channel is not really about that. And there's already so many people who focus on vegan food and vegan lifestyle on other channels out there. I'm not the best person to be doing it, because I have had, during all this time, ever since 2016, I've been on and off with being vegan and being vegetarian, because not all of the time I was able to keep up with being 100% vegan, especially when moving countries. It takes some adaptation, but here in France, for some reason, it's simply not happening, and I am back to being vegetarian for the time being. So Loose Karma says, Aster, hello. I would love to know how many tarot decks you have, what they are, if you are comfortable sharing this, and if you could jump into one of the cards, which one would it be and why? So for the tarot decks, I don't have that many. I think I have less than 10 or less, because you don't need to have a shitload of decks, you know, you just need to know how to use well the decks that you already have. So I'm not a big buyer of new decks. I prefer to use well the ones that I already have. If I could jump to a card, it would be the 9 of Pentacles. It would be that person who has worked hard, persevered, and is harvesting the fruit of her efforts. I really like that card as a minor arcana. It's a very nice message in my opinion. Another question from Loose Karma is, does your practice look different or change during your moon week? If so, how? The moon week is the menstruation period, and no, I don't do anything different. I don't stop myself from doing anything because I am having my period. It's just another common week, and I do things as I normally would. Much love, yeah, much love for you too, Loose Karma. Thank you for being here and for sending a question. Actually, I ended up having the idea of making a video showing only like all of my tarot decks, and yeah, I'm gonna save like showing the decks that I have, etc., for a specific video talking only about that. I think that's going to be a very nice idea. So I have Dapperod, who wrote a very big comment with 6 questions in Portuguese. Please don't be sad, but I am going to save this comment for the next Q&A, because it is very like detailed and long questions, and we are already at like 45 minutes of footage here. So I'm gonna stop here and save this question for the next Q&A, I promise, okay? I'm sorry for not being able to answer everything, because each question is a universe. There's a lot that can be said, and like the light is getting weaker. Soon it's gonna start to get dark and I need to wrap it up. I want to thank each and every one of you who are subscribed to the channel, and also to the people who sent questions, who took the time to write questions. I am so very grateful for you guys being here, and I can't wait to see what we are going to do together when it comes to content creation and community building. I am very happy to see where this community is going, the back and forth, the exchange. I mean, I propose stuff and you are on board. It is really very heartwarming, and I am very happy, very satisfied. Thank you so much for being here, and remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Let's get to 10K by the end of the year, okay? Bye bye, and see you in the next video.